Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another news video here to discuss. We're looking at some of the games that happened from over the past couple of days. Looking forward to the next few days of game action. We're also got a couple of interesting signings to talk about, some injury updates to talk about, and some trade rumors involving the Maple Leafs, Sabres, New York Rangers, and the LA Kings. We'll get to all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Talker channel. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for your support. I'll never be able to do without you guys, so if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below. Discussing all that was discussed in today's video. Now, as usual, I'm going to start today's video off by discussing some game reviews from our past couple days. We had two Game 5s over the past couple days, so we'll get to both of those here. First, 2 days ago, we saw in Game 5 of the series that Florida Panthers score a tie-breaking third period goal and will hold on to beat the New York Rangers 3-2 as they take a 3-2 series lead in that series. So very good stuff there. The Rangers were able to open the scoring. Panthers would tie it up, and it would stay tied up right until midway through the third period when the Panthers were able to get the tie-breaking goal to give them a 2-1 lead. Bennett would get an empty net to make it a 3-1 game. Lafreniere made a 3-2 game with under a minute left to go, but it was too little too late for the Rangers. So very fantastic win there for Panthers, who have taken a 3-2 series lead and are one away from going back to the Cup. Bennett had goal and assist. Lindell and Forsling both also scored for the Panthers in the win, while Kreider had goal and assist. Venja had 2 assists, and Lafreniere also scored for Rangers in the loss. They failed to take the series lead. So bad stuff there for the New York Rangers. And then yesterday, we saw the Edmonton Oilers start fast, get up to an early 3-0 lead, never look back, and beat the Dallas Stars 3-1 as they take a 3-2 series lead and are on the verge of making their first Stanley Cup final appearance since 2006. So it's a very good game there from the Oilers. They got a late first period goal from Nugent Hopkins. They got a couple of early second period goals, one from Nugent Hopkins, one from Philip Broberg to make it 3-0. Johnson would score a late goal to make it 3-1, but it was too little too late, and the Oilers do come away with a victory, and now lead the series 3-2. Nugent Hopkins scored twice, Bouchard had 2 assists, and Broberg, who scored his first career playoff goal, also scored for the Oilers in the win, while Johnson was one goal scorer for the Stars in the loss as they failed to take the series lead. So bad stuff there for the Dallas Stars. They had a chance to take a series lead and put a stranglehold on the Edmonton Oilers, and they failed to do that. So bad stuff there for the Dallas Stars. So those are 2 games that happened over the past couple days. Now the Oilers and Panthers take 3-2 series leads back home to have a chance to win in 6 games. So if you look at the next 3 days of game action, so at 5 p.m. Pacific time later today, the Florida Panthers are going to have an opportunity to go to their 2nd straight Cup final, have a chance to win their first ever Stanley Cup, and they'll be able to make that all happen today as they have a chance to end the Rangers in 6 games. Panthers have horribly outplayed the Rangers all this series. With the way Shesterkin's been doing, I could see this series go to 7, but with the way the Panthers have been outplaying the Rangers, I would not be overly surprised if behind their home crowd, the Panthers are able to end it today. So very good stuff there for the Panthers. Meanwhile, for the Stars and the Oilers, another possibility there tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time, the Oilers are going to have a chance to go to their first Cup final since 2006, and I think this is basically a must-win game for Edmonton. I'm not saying that they can't win a Game 7, but I think if the Stars do wind up winning tomorrow and force a Game 7, Peter DeBoer has never lost a Game 7 in his career, so I think the pressure would then shift to Edmonton, especially with Dallas in their home crowd. So I think this is a little bit of a must-win for the Oilers, but I still think that if the Oilers are able to come out really well, like they did in this last game, they'll have a solid chance to end the series, win it in 6, and go to their first Cup final. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And then on Monday, if necessary, if the Rangers are able to force a Game 7 later today, we will have a Game 7 at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Monday. If not, then Monday will be an open day. Same thing with Tuesday. We could have a Game 7, but it's not guaranteed depending on how Dallas and Edmonton play. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that goes. But Edmonton and Florida both up 3-2. Each time Florida's won, Edmonton's won. Each time New York's won, Dallas has won. So we'll have to wait and see who wins today. But it'll be interesting to see. And we do know that the Cup final will start June 8th. So there's going to be a couple of days break no matter how long these series go. So interesting stuff there. But we do know that over the next 3 days we're going to have Game 6 between the Stars and the Oilers, and a Game 6 between the Panthers and the Rangers, and potentially a Game 7 between the Panthers and the Rangers on Monday. So interesting stuff there. Going over to a quick signing update from the past couple of days. We've had 3 signings from May 29th to today on June 1st. So we'll get to the last 3 signings that we haven't got around to talk about here. First, the Carolina Hurricanes have signed center Ryan Suzuki, who's 28th overall pick in the 2019 draft. He gets a one-year contract extension with the AV of $775,000. That'll begin to start next year. Fantastic signing there for the Hurricanes. Suzuki has been an AHL player his entire career so far up to this point. Last year, put 13 goals and 32 points in 50 games with the Hurricanes AHL affiliate. This year, the Hurricanes do not have an AHL affiliate, so he was playing over in Springfield, which is the Blues AHL affiliate. Put 14 goals and 30 points in 51 games. This has been a pretty decent AHL player, and I think he could eventually be a solid bottom six of center, so it's a pretty good signing there for the Hurricanes. I think he should still be a call-up option if the Hurricanes need it this year, so a very good signing there for Carolina. Then we saw the St. Louis Blues, so one of their top prospects, and that was Juraj Pekarcik, who's a left winger, a third-round pick in this past year's 2023 draft. Pekarcik gets a 3-year ELC with AV of $870,000 that begins the start of next year. It's a pretty good signing there for Pekarcik. He's been playing this past year over in the USHL, put up 9 goals and 59 points in 43 USHL games. Looked fantastic after putting up 3 assists in 30 Slovakia games last year, so it's a pretty good sign there for the Blues, and I think eventually Pekarcik could be a solid third-line player there for the Blues, so solid sign there for St. Louis. And then we saw the Montreal Canadiens sign center Davidson. Davidson, who's a 2022 5th-round pick of the Montreal Canadiens, who's a center. He gets a 2-year ELC with AV of $863,000 that'll be going to start next year. Now, Davidson has been playing over mostly in the WHL. Last year, playing in the WHL, put 38 goals and 82 points in 60 games. This past year, he played his first career pro season, playing 38 games over in the AHL with Laval, put up 11 goals and 16 points. Looks like eventually could be solid, decent bottom six center, so solid sign there for the Montreal Canadiens, but those are only 3 signs we've had from over the past couple of days. Suzuki signs an extension in Carolina, will remain there, while Pekarcik and Davidson both get ELCs, and they should hopefully be future pieces of the Blues and Canadiens forward group. So really good stuff there from over the past couple of days of signings. Going over to a quick injury update for the past few days. Not too much to talk about, just a few injury updates. Chris Tanev, who we did mention in our last video, was injured, was going to be out for another period of time, did indeed play. He was first ruled a game time decision, then was indeed clear to play for Game 5 last night. So it's very good stuff there for Dallas to see Tanev was back in the lineup. However, it was not enough for them to get the win. And then Troy Stecher has an ankle injury. They acquired him at the deadline. Sounds like he's going to miss the rest of the playoffs with that ankle injury, so bad blow there for the Oilers to lose their 7th defenseman. But Broberg's been able to fill in quite well, so that's a pretty good solid move there for the Oilers to put in Broberg, but really bad to lose Stecher, who they acquired at the deadline and did give up a valuable draft pick to get. So bad stuff there for the Oilers. But those are the 2 injury updates from the past couple of days. Stecher's going to be out for a while, and Tanev was back, so really good stuff there. And lastly, going over to a couple of trade rumors. Now first, there's a rumor here that has been popping up a little bit over the past little while, and that is that the Carolina Hurricanes may have some interest in acquiring RFA forward Kakko. Now we know that the Hurricanes are about to go through some major changes this offseason. Taravan's UFA, Gensel UFA, although it sounds like Gensel and Carolina are having really good extension talks right now. So we know Gensel's UFA, Taravan's UFA, Natchez is probably going to be moved as an RFA, Jarvis is an RFA, but he's probably staying. Shea's UFA, Pesci's UFA, Chatfield, D'Angelo, they have a ton of pending UFAs, Nosen and Martin on the forward group, so they have a ton of pending UFAs, and a lot of players are probably not going to be back, so they're probably going to try and be looking to try and fill some holes this offseason, and could Kakko be one of those hole fillers? Kakko's been a really good two-way forward. He's actually started to work himself out a really good role on the Rangers' third line, but Kakko is a pending RFA right now. He's going to need probably a big extension from his $2.1 million cap that he had last year. I'm not exactly sure if the Rangers are going to be not only willing to pay what he would want on a new extension, but also can afford to pay what he wants on an extension, and they probably are going to want Lafreniere to get extended more than Kakko. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens for the Rangers and what they do with Kakko, but I think there's a possibility we could see him move. I mean, there's been a lot of talk over the past couple of years about one of Kakko or Lafreniere being moved. They weren't overly great. Kakko offensively still hasn't, I think, reached his potential, but he's definitely turned into a very fantastic defensive forward, so I think the Rangers do like him, and if there's the right contract out there, I think they'll sign him, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they moved him to try and get some upgrades elsewhere. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there. But I think there's a very likely chance we could see Kakko wind up being traded. And Carolina, apparently, according to Lyle Fitzsimmons of the Bleacher Report, could have some interest. Now, the Hurricanes, like I said, are going to be losing a lot of players. Kakko's like a middle six, shutdown line type player. Could be a fantastic fit for the Carolina Hurricanes. So I'm not going to say it's a guarantee. Like I said, Kakko is a really liked player by the Rangers. picked by them. I think they would love to keep him, but if they can't, I think there would be a very likely option that the Carolina Hurricanes could have some major interest. And it'll be interesting to see if there's an in-division trade, but I think that the Carolina Hurricanes could have some major interest in a defensive forward like Kakko. So we'll have to wait and see, but it seems that the Hurricanes may have some interest in Kakko. I'll have to wait and see if that happens. Trevor Moore in LA is next. Now, we talked about how the Kings need to free up some cap space. They have Matt Roy, a pending UFA right now, Vic Arvidsson, a pending UFA right now. Those guys are probably gone given their cap situation that the Kings have right now. You have them needing to go after a starting goaltender. They have Riddick as potentially the backup, but they don't have a starting level goaltender right now, so they need to go after a starting goaltender, which is going to cost some cap space too. So they need to find a way to try and free up some cap space. And apparently a name who's being thrown out there right now is Trevor Moore. Now, Moore, in my opinion, I would not move him. He's a California native. I think he was the first California native player to play for a California team and score either 20 or 30 goals. So he's been fantastic for the LA Kings. He's been a very fantastic pickup from the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's worked out fantastically. He's still got, I think, 4 or 5 years left on his long-term extension. So if it was me out there, given how well he's fit in the top 6, I would not move Moore. I don't think they're actively shopping him, but I think if they need to free up some cap space, Moore definitely be an option there. He's making over $4 million. He's a really good speedy forward. There will be a lot of teams who are looking for forward help who would have interest in him. I could see Buffalo have interest, Chicago if they were trying to upgrade their team a little bit. I could see some other teams, Seattle have interest, Ottawa had interest, Toronto maybe to bring him back, Winnipeg, Nashville, the Islanders. There would be a ton of teams, a long list, that would have some major interest in Moore if he was on the block. So we would have to see exactly what would happen and what the return would be, because I think for Moore, it would have to be a second-round pick and a really good prospect, or a first-round pick and another piece. So I think they would have to have a really good asking price if they were to move Moore. But it would be interesting. Like I said, Moore makes over $4 million. The Kings are tied up against the cap right now. If they were to move him, it would definitely free up the necessary cap space to go after some pieces. Maybe bring back Roy, go after a starting goaltender. So I'm not exactly sure what the Kings will do in this situation, but it sounds like Moore might be out there and they could potentially moving him. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there, but it definitely seems like it's a possibility we could see a Trevor Moore trade later this year. So we'll have to wait and see. Personally, I don't see Moore being traded, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. Next, we look at the Buffalo Sabres. Could the Sabres move their first-round pick? Now, this is a little bit of a surprise, but I'm not overly surprised if this winds up happening. Now, last year, we talked about them potentially moving on from their first-round pick. I think they were 14th in the NHL last year. They had a late first-round pick, and we were talking about them potentially moving it on for adding a guy like a goalie at that time, like Hellebuck or Markstrom, or a defenseman. At that point in time, it was like Hanifin or Pesce. Now could they try and move that first round pick, and potentially could it be for a forward? Now, I think they still could use some help on the defensive end, but with the addition of Bowen Byram, they have a solid top 4 of Byram, Samuelson, Dahlin, and Power. I think they could use another veteran goaltender, but I think that's more likely in free agency now, with them having UPL as their 1A goaltender. But they do have a lot of problems on their forward group now. Their offense took a big step back this past year. Tuck had a down year, Skinner had a down year, Thompson had a down year, Cousins had a down year. I know they have some really good pieces coming up in the line up in not just in the future, but I think they could definitely use one more top 6, top 9 forward. I think if they were to move that 11th overall pick, they could definitely try and add some pieces. Now, some pieces I could see them go after. Not exactly sure if these will all include the 11th overall pick, or if they do include the 11th overall pick, if there will be more than just the one player coming back. But I could see them go after a guy like Mikael Granlund from San Jose. Could they be interested in a reunion with Taylor Hall if the Hawks were willing to move him? Frank Vetrano from Anaheim could be a really good fit. Fabry, potentially from Detroit, could be another interesting piece. Natchez from Carolina could be interesting. From the Vancouver Canucks, could they acquire a guy like Ilya Mikheyev if they wanted to? From the Columbus Blue Jackets, would they have some interest in one of the Jackets' young forwards? Could they acquire a guy from Seattle, such as a guy like Jaden Schwartz or Yanni Gourde? Could they have some interest in a guy like Trevor Moore, who we just talked about, from LA? Could they have some interest in a guy like Andrew Mangiapane from Calgary if he was to come available this year? Sam Bennett from Florida. Could they have some interest in a guy like Dawson Mercer from New Jersey? What about Nick Robertson or Mitch Marner from Toronto? There's a couple of other guys out there. Ehlers from Winnipeg or a guy like Nelson from NYI. So there's a couple of options out there for the Sabres to move their 11th overall pick. Not saying all those guys would warrant an 11th overall pick, but I'm saying those guys could all get in and help the Sabres generate a little bit more offense. And some of those guys could be some more veteran leaders on that team. So, like I said, not sure if all those would generate the 11th overall pick, or if so, they could definitely get like a late first round pick back or early second round pick plus the player, or maybe a young player plus the player. So I'm not exactly sure who they'll try and target, but there's a lot of talk out there right now that the 11th overall pick may be on the table for the Sabres. And unlike going after a defenseman or a goaltender, like we saw them considering last year, maybe they go after a forward this year. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but it does sound like the 11th overall pick is out there. And lastly, according to ForceFeeder.com, there are 4 teams we have to watch out for when it comes to a potential Mitch Marner trade. Now, according to a lot of reports, it sounds like Marner might be a little bit more open than we first thought to potentially considering a trade. It sounds like he was anticipating a trade last year before his no movement clause kicked in. So it seems like he's come to grips with the fact that he may be traded, and he would be open to talking with the Leafs about potentially finding a couple of teams that he would be open to moving to give to the Leafs so they could find a trade for him. It doesn't sound like he's going to sign an extension with whoever he gets acquired by. It sounds like he'll probably test free agency next year, but it does seem like he's very likely to get traded at this point in time. So 4 teams who the ForcePeriod.com's David Pagnotta has said to watch out for in a Mitch Marner trade. One is the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, I'm not saying it's a guarantee that they go after him, but we know the Hawks want to get some more young pieces to incorporate around Bedard. Now, if Marner's only a rental, I highly doubt they go after him. I think they will only go after him if they have an extension in place, but they could move a first round pick, which they have in like the 20th overall pick. They have a lot of really good draft prospects now. They're going to have a lot of really good picks in this next year's draft. They have a couple of decent players. Like we talked about, the Leafs wanting to get a top end player. Dave Pagnotta mentioned Seth Jones. Now, I'm not sure if that would be the ideal option for the Leafs, given the fact that Jones makes $9.5 million. It wouldn't save them very much cap space, but it could give them that number 1 defenseman that they've been looking for. So, interesting potentiality there. But the Hawks could be a team who has some interest in Marner. Dallas could be another team, according to David Pagnotta. That could be an interesting one. Now, I'm not exactly sure if the Stars could do it cap-wise, but they could definitely try and work some things out. They do have a couple of pending UFAs this offseason, so they could definitely work it out. I don't think they would be willing to move Harley or Heiskanen. Could the Leafs have some interest in a guy like Esa Lindell? I think that's a possibility. Not exactly sure who else they would have some interest in. I don't see him moving Jay Collinger. They do have a lot of young prospects, though, and a couple of decent draft picks that I think the Leafs could have some interest in. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there, but it seems that the Stars may be a landing spot for Marner. Nashville, we talked about this before. It seems like a very potential possibility. Now, Marner in Nashville, no tax state, same thing with Dallas. Extension wouldn't be $12-13 million. It'll probably be somewhere in the $10.5 to $11 million range because they're no tax states, even though he wouldn't be one of the highest paid players in the NHL. He would still technically be, given the fact he's in a non-tax state. So Nashville and Dallas could pull off extensions. Nashville's looking for some solid top 6 goal scoring help. He could definitely fit in really well with Nashville. There's been some talk about Saros potentially going the other way. Maybe not a 1-for-1 deal, but definitely that could be a basis of a package. So it does seem like Nashville could have some interest in Marner. And lastly, Vegas. Now we know Vegas always likes to go after the big toy in free agency. They've gone after Stone. They tried to go after Carlson at one point in time. They went after Petrangelo in free agency. So we know they like to go after the big names, either in the trademark or free agency. And I would definitely think they would at least check in. But I don't see Vegas being able to acquire him. One, they don't have the assets, in my opinion, to pull it off. They barely have any draft picks for this year. They don't have too many for next year. They don't have very many elite level prospects in their system. Could they move a guy like Petrangelo or Theodore? It's possible, but it would stress them not to. I think they have built a really good blue line there, and they wouldn't move one of those guys to acquire 1 year of Mitch Marner. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there. But in my personal opinion, I don't think Vegas would pull the trigger on a trade to acquire Mitch Marner, but it does seem like David Pagnotta thinks that they would have some interest. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens, but it does sound like Mitch Marner is being moved. It's very likely it could happen. And 4 teams to watch out for are the Hawks, Stars, Predators, and the Golden Knights. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But that's what we're talking about for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. What do you think about all those discussed here today? Do you think Marner gets moved? And if so, could the Hawks, Stars, Predators, and Knights have some interest. Do you see the Sabres moving the 11th overall pick? And if so, what package do you think they will be able to get in return for it to upgrade their team? Could we see a Trevor Moore trade by LA to free up some cap space? And if so, what could the Kings get back in return? And on top of that, do you see the Carolina Hurricanes acquiring Kakko this offseason, or do you see Kakko remaining in New York? Definitely let me know your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you're like to subscribe down below. Think about your support on able to with all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so I can discuss today's video. I also have a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for our next video. See you guys soon.